Hi guys, Earl Shaw again. The training we're going to do, we'll call it Reprogram Your Computer. And real simple, I'm going to be telling you the David and Goliath story in a way that you've never heard it told before. One of the greatest problems we face today is one called broke, and it's not going to change until we get money motivated. What would it take to get you a little bit money motivated? Listen to me, guys. I'm the first to tell you money's not the most important thing in life, but it affects the things that are. After God, your health is number one, family is number two, money's number three. But come on, most of you have already figured out a lack of money sure can mess up the other two. So what would it take to get you money motivated? You have to stay motivated, let me say, until the money shows up in the bank. Every time you tried to have a baby, it didn't work, did it? But you stayed motivated. That's the kind of motivation you need to pull out and use when it comes to changing the size of your bank account. Who are you? How do you think? How do you think about money is what we're talking about. How do you think about wealth? How do you think about success? And if you're not financially free, it's your beliefs in most cases that's holding you back. We justify why we're broke. I don't want to be rich. Rich people are not happy. Well, if I'm going to be unhappy, my friend, I'd rather be rich and unhappy than broke and unhappy. Every statement you heard when you were young is still logged somewhere in your memory, in your money blueprint today. That's the reason we're calling this one Reprogram Your Computer. If you're not financially free, it's real simple. Your strategies need some changes, and if you can't change the programming, my friend, you can't change the results. The first computer is that 6 inches between your ears, and sometimes we have to reprogram our computer. If man built a computer equivalent to this 6-inch one between our ears, it'd have to be the size of the Empire State Building. It'd take a cooling capacity the size of Niagara Falls just to cool it off where it could work. And I'm going to say it again. Sometimes we have to reprogram our computer. Who taught you about money? I'm talking about when you was a kid. What did you hear as a child from your parents, your teachers, your peers, the news media, religious leaders, and relatives? Well, here's what most of us heard. It's immoral to want to be rich. It's sinful to want to be rich. God will get me if I desire to be rich. The desire for money is evil. Money is the root of all evil. Well, that's the biggest lie ever told. Money's not the root of all evil. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. You can have all of the money you can dream about. It's what you do with the money. You can build nitrogen bombs with it, or you can build hospitals with it. You can do good or you can do bad with it. And here's a big one. You know, people, I've heard this one so many times, money won't make you happy. Well, if money won't make you happy, my friend, you can sure be miserable in some awfully nice places. So man's highest quest, think about it, it's financial freedom. Come on, money's not the most important thing in life again, but I'll say it again, it affects the things that are. And some of you are still having a problem with becoming money motivated because of the things we heard as a kid, because of the things that we've been taught. So hold on to your seat, because in the next few minutes I am going to change the way some of you have been thinking, and that's where it starts, guys. Change the way you think to change the size of your bank account. If the Good Samaritan had not been rich, all he would have had was some good intentions. Now, do you want to go through life with money, or do you want to go through life with just some good intentions? And here's the David and Goliath story. I told you I'm going to tell you in a way you've never heard it told before. I'm not smart enough to figure this one out, guys. This story was told in one of the largest church congregations in Dallas on a Sunday morning by a pastor I have much respect for, and someone going to church there got the tape and gave me the copy of it, and I thought, wow, how simple. But here's the way the story goes. David's 17-year-old, keeping up with the family's sheep herd, and one day his dad comes out to the pasture with a couple of sack lunches. He said, son, 2 of your brothers went into town earlier today. They've been gone a long time. They got to be hungry. And he said, would you take these 2 sack lunches into town so they'll have something to eat? I'll watch the sheep while you're gone. David, 17 years old, takes the sack lunches, trots into town looking for his brothers. Guess where he found them? In what you and I would call a opportunity meeting. Yeah, and that, I mean, it was standing room only in that meeting that day. I mean, he had to just, he had trouble just getting into the door, and the guy in front of the room that day doing that meeting, he was pretty good. And David squeezes into the room just in time to hear the presenter say, the king will give great wealth to the man that kills the giant, and he'll also give him his daughter in marriage. Now, this is sounding pretty good to a 17-year-old that's living out in the woods, in the wilderness with the sheep. Come on, king going to give me great wealth? You mean I'm going to be rich? And I'm going to get to marry the best-looking girl in town? I'll say it again, this is sounding way too good to the 17-year-old. So David turns to somebody standing next to him and said, I'm sure I may have not understood that right. He said, what's going to be done for the man that kills that giant? And they repeated to him exactly what he had heard the first time. This is what will be done for him. You're going to be rich. You're going to be married to the best-looking girl in town. Well, David is getting real excited about what he's hearing in this opportunity meeting. He said, well, sign me up. I got my slingshot in my pocket. Now, David had a lot of time on his hands out there with the sheep, a lot of time to practice with that slingshot, and he was good with it, and he knew he was good with it. You hear me? And I'll say it again. He's got his slingshot in his pocket. He said, sign me up. I mean, he was getting excited about what he was hearing in this meeting, and here's what will always happen to you, my friend. It's usually a relative or somebody real close to you, but his older brother that he's hunting to give him the sack lunch, he sees David, his little brother, getting all excited and goes over and says, what are you doing down here? Come on, get back out there with the sheep where you belong. I mean, this meeting is not for you. Now, I'll say it again, somebody is always going to show up and try to make it rain on your parade, my friend. Will you get away from negative people? So what does David do? He gets away from his brother, is trying to make it rain on his parade, goes to somebody else. Now, this is the 3rd time he brings this up, okay? Says, tell me one more time what that man in front of the room said, and these men answered him exactly the same as before. And David says it one more time, sign me up. And before David knows it, he's out there facing his giant. Now listen to me, guys. There's so much to be learned here. I don't care who you are. Don't care what your financial status is. Everybody is going to face a giant in their life. It could be health issues. It could be a divorce. It could be a loss of a loved one. You hear me? We all face giants. So David gets out there facing his giant, and you know the first thing I think he figured out is, I'm about to die. Now, we see David as a spiritual giant, and David for sure turned into a spiritual giant. And I don't know, but this may be where it all started. He's facing the giant, and in my own mind, I can see him saying, what am I doing here? How did I get myself here? I'm about to die. And what did David do? He started praying. What, in my opinion, any sensible man and woman's going to do if you think you're about to die, the most sensible thing I can think of, it's time to start doing some praying. And I'm just trying to be a little bit humorous here, but I can imagine in my own mind, David's prayer might have gone a little bit something like this. God, you get me out of this one, I'll get myself out of all of the rest of them, okay? And God showed up and showed out in David's life, and David got everything he could possibly dream of. Think about it, guys. Going from living in the wilderness, taking care of the sheep, and I'll say it again, he was good with that slingshot. He knew he was good with that slingshot. I'm talking about he had killed a bear with it. He had killed a lion with it. And that gave him the self-confidence to get out there and face the giant with it. And everybody knows a lot of stories about this man David, but let me tell you one of them. He's called the apple of God's eye. Now here's what I want to leave you with, guys. If the apple of God's eye, if it's okay for him to be money motivated to the point of risking his life for money, risking his life for success, risking his life to get everything he can dream of. You hear me? He risked his life to be wealthy, guys. Get this. Well, if it's okay for the apple of God's eye to be that money motivated, do you think it might be okay for you to be a little bit money motivated? Here's what I'm talking about. Do you have $20? Would you spend that $20 if you thought you could make some money? Nobody's asking you to risk your life here. We're saying, do you have $20? Would you spend $20 if you thought you could make some money? And guys, if you can't do it with this one, best thing I know to leave you with, don't quit your day job. We're the 2012 Company of the Year for the whole United States of America. Our CEO is a 2012 Businessman of the Year for the whole United States of America. Forbes magazine calling us one of the most promising companies in America. If you ever believed you're in the right place at the right time, guys, this might be the time for you to spend $20. Go to work with us. And whoever gave you this video to watch, you've heard me say this before, but they may have just given you the keys to everything you can dream about, think about, everything you've ever worked for, hoped for, wished for, and prayed for. But you can still miss it. It all starts with go to work. It all starts with start calling people and saying, I have found a way. I believe we can make some money. Do you have 1 minute to listen to something? Three-way them in to the call, and the rest of those trainings are on this website, and we're looking forward to going to work with you. Thanks, and God bless.